Should we just mute it first, or is that something else?
The real news heard Saturdays, 11 a.m., 1400-1520. Hello and welcome. Today our guest is going to be Coste Kute, Mayor of Statesville. We're going to have him join us first, and after this interview we will go to phone calls. Normally we only have about 15-20 minutes for listeners to call in, which isn't long enough sometimes. Today we will have an expanded time for you to speak out. We have a lot of news and information to cover, so we're going to start with our guest, and also you can call in if you'd like to ask the mayor a question. Our Statesville number is 704-873-1400, and our Davie County number is 336-499-0681. And to begin with, we had one email question from David H., and the question for the mayor is this: doesn't Statesville have a new policy prohibiting panhandling, and if so, why is it not being enforced on Highway 21?
We do have a new ordinance prohibiting panhandling that has been passed in the last 60 or 90 days, and it covers everywhere within the city of Statesville. And so if his business is within the city of Statesville, Highway 21, and he's experiencing some what he believes to be panhandling, he should just call our local police department, and they're prepared to respond to that. I don't think they're in constant patrol looking for panhandlers, because they're certainly bigger issues that they deal with on a regular basis, but they are prepared and willing and able to address that. And I've been told on a number of occasions that shop owners and residents have called, and that problem is now being addressed.
Mr. Mayor, recently we've seen drastic increases in energy prices, crude oil, gas, other commodities. How is that impacting the city of Statesville and its budget?
It's having a tremendous adverse impact. Virtually every department, we anticipated rising natural gas and fuel oil prices in preparing our budget for the year that we're in right now, which is July 107 through June 30, 08. But it's gone even higher than any of us anticipated. I think I saw just yesterday or the day before that a barrel of crude has more than doubled in the last 12 months, so nobody anticipated that. And virtually every meeting over the last 3 or 4 months, we've had a department that has been forced to tighten its belt in some other area to provide additional money for, gasoline for cars and sanitation trucks, and the city of Statesville has over 400 vehicles that it operates, so you can imagine. I mean, you know how it is just for your own personal vehicle. So it's had a huge impact. I don't know what the dollars over budget will be when we come to June 30th, but it will be very significant, and something that we're going to have to continue to deal with, because I think most of us had anticipated that the end would be in sight by now, but it does not appear to be.
Do you think it might be time for the city to implement a different type of policy for purchasing, such as much more fuel efficient, smaller cars, for example, maybe for the police department?
We're looking into that. Places all around, and actually have analyzed that to determine, because there's an additional cost in the purchase, and so what you're trying to justify is whether over the term of the ownership will the fuel cost savings justify the additional front-end cost. So our finance department is looking at that, and you may see some hybrids. The short and long of it is that non-essential travel has been cut down quite a bit. I mean, it's hard to do that, because a lot of the jobs require, as police, as your friend on Highway 21 calling, looking for patrol. Policemen have to patrol, but they're trying to implement ways that they have to go back to the station on fewer occasions, so that they can write their reports on the road. They can computer in information more than they have in the past. So we're looking for ways to minimize the impact, but it's just a killer situation. It's got to be impacting communities all over the country in an adverse fashion. So yes, we're looking at hybrids and more fuel efficient vehicles, and also, interestingly enough, this week I had a chance to work with the water and sewer maintenance folks, and for instance, they bought a new piece of equipment which in the past had been attached to a very large and I'm sure very non-fuel efficient vehicle. Now it's like part of a trailer, so you've got all the equipment there, so you can hook it behind a pickup truck, you can do whatever you want to. It's also, they bought it because it's more accessible to more places, but it's also going to be more efficient to move it around town. So you're constantly looking for things like that. How much impact those things will have, who knows? But in the same way that you're doing that in your own personal life, and the community is doing that as well.
Could the city of Statesville look into things like solar or wind power for any of its power generation as well?
Well, we are, that's a great question because the city of Statesville is part of an organization called Electricities. So we actually own our own electric system. We do not generate power, but we distribute power and transmit power in the city of Statesville. And so it's a multi-billion-dollar operation that is looking into all of those things and has interest in all those things, and also is buying and selling power as a commodity.
Right.
So eventually the citizens of Statesville, if that's done in an efficient way, are benefiting by a larger, bigger organization that's controlling a lot of that. So they're into wind and solar and all these alternative things, but they're in it for 51 municipalities and about 20 other entities. So they have an organization that's about 70 members deep throughout the state, and do that. So would the city of Statesville directly be looking at wind and solar power? Probably not. But as a part of that big organization, we're into it every minute of every day.
I called the city manager's office and asked how much money was in the general fund, and I was surprised to find out the city has $15 million in that fund, and we had a listener that was interested in this information. I just wanted to ask you, is that normal for a city the size of Statesville, or is that considered a large surplus?
Well, it's a large amount of money, and it depends which side of the equation you're on. If, for instance, in your personal life you think it's good to be able to manage your affairs efficiently so that you can have money in the bank, then you would think it's good. If, on the other hand, you think that the government should just live from year to year, then you might say that it's a whole lot of money banging around in a savings account. But the way the city has operated is that we have tried to operate the city efficiently for a long, long time and have done a pretty good job without in any way limiting the services that we provide to our citizens. We've kept a stable tax rate, but in spite of that, we have often been able to put money in the bank. And what that has allowed us to do is to do a lot of major projects without having to borrow the money, so that our carrying costs, our interest costs on a lot of things is much less than some of our neighbors. We virtually make all of our capital expenditures with a combination of loans, lease purchase, and actually using our money. A municipality is only required to have 8% of its general budget, general fund budget in reserve. So in Statesville that would only be, I guess, $2 to $2.5 million. So we're above that limit. But for instance, it has allowed us to build a brand new recreation center, which is going to be about an $8 million facility, and not go to the bank and not put that further on the backs of the taxpayers. So if you look at the life of the city as a continuum, then perhaps we can say that people before us put money in the bank so that we can have a recreation center now. But at the same time, we're putting money in the bank so that our children can have whatever the next major expenditure is down the road. And I find it to be a good way to do business. Is it different than the way